I bet majority of you people will go out for a nice day at Airsoft, shoot the entire day, and have a lot of fun. But then, as soon as you go home, you take your gun and you just toss it into that gun bag or the box that you bought it in, and you put it away for a few weeks until you go play again. And then when you go play again, it works fine. But then you do this for like 3 or 4 months, and then all of a sudden, oh my magazine's not feeding. Oh my battery isn't holding. You didn't maintain it properly. And today, we're gonna show you how to prevent that. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. If you enjoy watching our content, show us some love by liking the video. And ring the bell to make sure you get notified whenever we drop new content. We appreciate you all. What's going on, you guys? My name is Cisco, and today I'm going to be showing you how to take care of your airsoft gun so it lasts a very long time. And these are things that you should be doing after every day you go out and go play. Because I don't want you to come back after like a week and say your gun has problems just because you didn't read the manual and don't know how to take care of your airsoft gun. Let's get into it. Today we're going to be taking a look at Kevin's airsoft gun. God, this thing's ugly.
But you built it for me, man.
Well, anyways, Kevin went to play at Wildlands this weekend. It was a little windy and pretty dusty out there, so I know his gun needs a cleaning. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at all of it.
How did you even get my gun? I live in a gated neighborhood. That thing was in my bedroom.
First things first is make sure you have eye pro for this step, because you don't want to lose an eyeball, right? You can't replace these. Now I know Kevin has already done these steps, but you're gonna want to make sure that there are no BBs in the magazine or gun, and you're gonna want to make sure that you unplug the battery.
I'll turn in my resignation papers right now.
So we're gonna have to go ahead and do those things right now. Now the reason you're going to want to empty out your magazine is because normally they run off of spring tension, and if it's full of BBs, the spring tension is going to be completely compressed, and over time it can get weaker than it normally is. So removing all the BBs will make sure that the magazine can feed for a very long time. And removing the battery from the gun will ensure that the battery isn't drained completely. Now for nickel metal hydrides, this isn't too bad of a thing, but if you completely drain the LiPo battery, it'll kill it completely. And some guns actually come with MOSFETs out of the box, which will slowly drain it, even though it's not like firing. So you just want to make sure that you do this to make sure that your battery has the longest life possible. Both of these things can be done at the airsoft field at the end of the day. It should be done at the airsoft field. Do it at the airsoft field, so you don't go home and pull out your gun and accidentally ND into your laptop screen. Boaz has done it before.
Whoa. Hey, you can't just be sharing that on the internet, okay? I just told you between just you and
me.
You
want to know something else about Boaz?
Whoa. Go.
Another thing I don't see a lot of people doing is making sure that their piston has reset after the day of play. What can happen is if you don't have a gun with an active braking MOSFET, is the piston can be locked back in a pre-pull position just due to the motor overcycling a little bit, or maybe you shot it in full auto. The way to prevent that is to actually fire the gun in semi, very slowly in between shots to make sure that the piston gets pushed forward. Now, if you can hear, this one does have a MOSFET in there with active braking, so it does make sure that the piston resets properly each time. But the way to make sure that you can avoid that in a regular gearbox is pulling the trigger and listening for the piston to slam forward. If you hear a winding or the gear noise after the piston is slammed forward, it means that the piston is slightly pulled back. So you're going to want to shoot it a few times, and eventually you will get to the piston resetting completely. The first thing that you should do when you get home is pop your batteries on a charger. LiPo batteries and Why can't I talk? Nickel metal hydride batteries should not be left uncharged. This is very damaging to the batteries and will prevent you from getting a full life out of your battery. So popping onto the charger, making sure they're completely full, and storing it that way for a few weeks is good to go. And then every so often, go ahead and pop them back onto the charger to make sure that they're fully charged, and then you'll be able to get the maximum life and performance out of your battery. Now, getting into the gun, the first thing you're going to want to do is wipe off any excess dirt on the outside of the gun. just to make sure that none of it gets inside of the gearbox. So I happen to have a old t-shirt that I cut up, so I'm just gonna wipe this down really quick. Just making sure that you're not trying to push any of the dirt in toward the gun, so you're just gonna wanna wipe it off a little bit. I typically will do the magazine well also, just because a lot of dirt gets in there when you're reloading. You know, use whatever you want. You can use a microfiber cloth if you're bougie like Kevin. Like I said, I have an old towel. Paper towels, you know, they can do the job. I wouldn't use any type of like cleaning solution just because it could get into the gun. So just run it dry. You'll be good. You'll also need 100% silicone oil. I believe this is Classic Army. It's a big can. It's really affordable. Go ahead and get yourself one of these and forget about it. But AMP, Elite Force, G&G, they all have brands. Just make sure it's 100% silicone oil. You don't want to use something like WD-40 or anything with petroleum in there because it can be harmful to any of the rubber and plastic parts in there, and it can degrade them and mess it up. So don't do that. And then, of course, you will also need your cleaning in a jamming rod. And what does help to cut this up is some scissors. Try carrying a shirt. It doesn't come out perfect. Yeah. Now, we could just shove the cleaning and jamming rod down the outside of the outer barrel into the inner barrel, but we're civilized people. So we're going to take the inner barrel and hop-up unit out of the gun. Now make sure you know how to do this because every gun is different, but majority of you run M4, so I'm fairly sure you're going to be able to remove it with these. So after you go ahead and take out your inner barrel setup, you're going to want to make sure that your hop-up unit is completely turned off. The reason for this is you can actually damage your bucking this way. And if you run a specialized hop-up system like Kevin, he has an R-hop, you could actually rip out the R-hop patch. So you want to avoid that by turning it off. Next step you want to do is cut your shirt into small little square pieces to loop through the cleaning side of your cleaning and jamming rod. There's no specific length that you want to do. You just want to make sure that there's enough to make contact with the walls of the inner barrel. So I always spray the cloth with silicone oil before I run it through the inner barrel. I don't like spraying the inner barrel itself just because it can cause a lot of excess grease to go in there. And then I just go ahead and make sure that I twirl that completely around as I'm pushing it through the inner barrel, just to make sure I try and pick up as much dirt as possible. And once I feel that I've gotten to the very end, I just go ahead and pull that all the way back. And yeah, pretty dirty. All right, you guys, as you can see, this is the first run with the cotton, and look how dirty it is. This is just after 1 day gameplay. Again, it was outdoors and it was pretty dusty, but imagine cleaning your gun after, you know, not doing so for a few months. It can get really gunked up and affect your accuracy. So you're gonna wanna make sure that you remove all the dirt as soon as possible. All right, so I'll typically run as many cotton swabs as I need through the inner barrel until it starts coming out clean. So depending on how dirty your inner barrel actually is will determine how much you need to actually clean it. So just go ahead and run another one through here. It looks like I did get a lot of the dirt out the first time, so I'm just making sure that everything is spick and span, good to go, and they start coming out clean like this. All right, so after I have swabbed it a few times, I'm going to make sure that the inner barrel is clean, that there's no debris or anything in there, which looks perfect to me. So once I'm done doing that, I like to run it through with some dry cotton just to absorb any excess silicone oil in there, because if you don't remove it, that can cause the barrel to get gunked up really fast when you go out to play again. So go ahead and do that once or twice and you should be good to go. Perfect. It's like a kaleidoscope, an airsoft kaleidoscope. And when you're done cleaning your inner barrel, that's pretty much all you need to really do. Just go ahead and reinstall it into your gun, and you are able to store this for a long period of time. And the next time you go out and play, it will be ready for you to go ahead and wreck the field. It's Kevin's gun. Done.
So if you're wondering if these steps will apply to any other pistols besides a high kappa, the best advice I can give you is to take that pistol and just chuck it in the trash.
Wait, hold on. What about my SIG, dude?
No, just take it, throw it in the trash.
Dude, my P09.
Trash.
My 1911? Come on, it's
Take
close enough.
it, Okay, maybe a 1911. You can keep your 1911.
But what about my M9?
No, it's trash.
My Glock? Trash.